top. All right, here we go. Did you think it was over? It's never over here at KnicksFanTV, man. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. CB the franchise in the building for another episode of Knicks Weekly presented by Mando. Today's guest, man, he is my guy. You guys know him, man. WordWideWob, Rob Perez in here. NBA Insider, NBA Twitter King, Sirius XM NBA Radio, and a diehard Knicks fan at that, man. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about a couple things on this episode, man. Number one, are the Knicks a true contender as is? There's a lot of talk about what this team needs to do and where they are right now. So we're going to talk about it, man. Is this team legit? Is it really a championship contender? There's a lot of a Thibs blame game going around. We're going to get to that as well. Plus, worst take. There's a lot of haters out there going in on the Knicks this morning, and I clipped up a couple of reactions that we want to react to here tonight. So let's get into it, man. Action-packed show. Like, share, subscribe. As I said, man, it's never over here at KnicksFanTV. It's over for the Knicks, but KFTV keeps it going. So let's go. So to everybody in the chat, once again, oh, my guy TM, the chief moderating operator, corrected me on your intro, Rob, and said, don't forget, police chase streamer Rob Perez on Twitch. Police chase streamer Rob Perez on Twitch.
The chat's being quite nice because, at least in my mentions, I've been called a traitor more times than I can count. Well, because I put out playoff predictions every year, and people know I cover the league nationally, so I put a bracket out the same way that people do for March Madness, where you fill out your teams. And I had the Pacers over the Knicks in the second round, and I mean, I got crucified for it.
So wait, was this when the playoffs started, or was this round by round? You're going okay.
So first of all, the Pacers had to beat the Bucks to even have the opportunity. Okay. But I get crushed for it because they're like, oh, you took the Pacers, and I'm like, I'm doing those brackets with my brain. If I was doing those with my heart, I would write the Knicks in every single time. But I don't want to say I saw it coming, but clearly I did. And the reason for that wasn't even so much the Pacers matchup. It had a big part to do with it, but I thought whoever survived that 76ers first round would be limping off the battlefield like the first 15 minutes of Saving Private Ryan, where that dude is looking for his right arm to reattach it to his body. And that's exactly, we stumbled out of that series. I mean, that was fought in the trenches. And then you go up against an Indiana Pacers team that is, I don't know if they were statistically, they were like in the top percentage of teams in statistical pace this year, but with the eye test, they were by far the fastest. I'm not even counting like the Charlotte Hornets or the Washington Wizards. They're going to play fast because they have no other choice. But in terms of in playoff teams, Indiana is in a class of its own. So I come into this series after what we did against Philadelphia, and you have this style of fights that I've been referring to for some time. And I love boxing analogies because I'm a big boxing guy. And the way that I was foreseeing this series before it started was if Floyd Mayweather, we are Floyd Mayweather in this case, fought Manny Pacquiao before the super fight, when they were supposed to fight the first time, 3 years before it. Yeah, the reason why they didn't book that fight is because Pacquiao's left hand was so fast at the time that Mayweather with his right guard was worried. I think, in my personal opinion, you don't want to fight a southpaw with a laser left hand like that. That's how you lose your perfect record. So he waited until Pacquiao had shoulder issues and was a little bit past his prime, and then he beat his ass. Yeah. But in this case, to me, Manny Pacquiao was the Indiana Pacers because Floyd Mayweather will beat anyone out there. But if you fight a southpaw that throws a ton of jabs and he's involved in every single skirmish, it's the antithesis of the way the Knicks want to play. Who's, speaking of statistical pace, dead last in the NBA this year. That's not good or bad. It's just a fact. Dead last, slowest team in the league. Now, our offensive rating was completely fine, but we play slow. Yeah. We want to sink our claws into you, right? We want to play those tight games down the stretch because that's all we do. We've been through the brimstone and fire throughout the regular season and years past. So since this is not March Madness, to just top off this point, you have to win 4 out of 7 times. It's not just sudden death, survive and advance. And my worry was if this series gets into the championship rounds, 11 and 12, or games 6 and 7, are we going to have enough bodies? Are we going to be able to continue to do what we do, hitting the glass in games 6 and 7, the way that we do in games 1 and 2? And I was just cautiously optimistic about it. And it's unfortunate because I would much rather be wrong and win. I'll tell you that much.
That's fair. I think that's fair. And I respect you for putting it all on the line, knowing how, rabid Knicks Nation can be on Twitter, man. I mean, they can be damn right diabolical. So I appreciate you for being brave and going with your brain, not with your heart. But because I felt like I was with you after that, watching them get through that Sixers series. I was there for game 4. The emotional, physical toll that it took on them, just watching them go in and out of the huddles and leaving that game. And even after game 6, I was like, damn, how much are they really going to have left? And obviously with the injuries, you lose Randle, you lose Bogdanovich. Their margin for error was very low. But, after they lose OG, then I'm like, things change. Yeah. After the first 2 games, I'm like, look, I think we should be fine. But then they lose OG. I'm like, yeah, this is going to change things quite a bit.
So right before, I love that I can have this conversation. I don't need to premise it the way I do on the radio. Yeah. Because you have to, if you're doing national radio, you have to provide context of everything. Here, everyone's educated about the Knicks, and I can just cut straight to the point. Yeah. So right before the trade deadline, I think there was a time we went on a little losing streak, and I looked it up. I put it into a tweet about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago that I looked up that week, and we surrendered our 3-point percentage that we surrendered to our opponents during that losing streak was just about 5 points higher than what the season average for us was, which means we're giving up a shit ton of open shots. Trending bad, yeah. For 2 straight weeks, this team would get beat off the dribble on the perimeter, couldn't stay in front of its own shadow. So we're getting beat, whether it's the Wizards or it's the Minnesota Timberwolves. We're getting beat off the dribble by everybody. As a result, with Mitchell Robinson out of the lineup injured, we collapse because that's what help defense does. Collapses on top of the dribble penetrator to stop the ball. And in the NBA, it's drive and kick to the corner where there's a punish 3 waiting for you. And I remember watching those games thinking every single team shoots wide open threes against us. And it was finally starting to translate in the box score as well. So as we approach the trade deadline, you take a cornerstone franchise piece like R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, guys that you have brought up through the system, and you liquidate that for OG Anunoby. And it was overnight that perimeter defense issue got solved. And OG Anunoby is an elite wing defender that can guard positions 1 through 5. We all know that. There are also good defenders on this team already in Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, Hartenstein, you name it. Everyone can lock up. But how he was seamlessly integrated into this team and how it translated to success in the eye test above all. I remember watching his first couple games and being like, God, we're finally not giving up bunnies every single time down the floor. So with OG coming in there, I considered him to be the most important player on the New York Knicks. That's not the best player. That's Jalen Brunson. Yeah. But I said OG Anunoby all year. The most important player, he is the oil that makes the engine run. I say the same about Draymond Green in Golden State. Not the best player. He can be annoying as shit, whatever. And I know this particular stream is not fond of him, but I'm speaking just in terms of X's and O's here. True. That the Golden State Warriors with Draymond Green, that franchise is not a dynasty without the things that he does. And every single team needs somebody like that on the defensive side. For us, it's OG Anunoby minus all of the antics. So with his presence on the floor, I was getting to the point of maybe I should start believing that we are actual championship contenders because I think he makes the difference. We're all expecting to go out and acquire this A-lister that you can pair next to Jalen Brunson, a Kevin Durant, a LeBron James. But no, maybe the answer this entire time was OG, and he was proving that to be true for quite some time. And then he goes down in that game 2, and it's just the most sobering feeling of here we are again, conceding all of these open shots to a team that led the league in open
shots
shots per game, and it got even worse.
Yeah, and they smoked it in the playoffs in terms of leading the league in wide open threes. I mean, the second closest team going into this series was Philadelphia, and they weren't even close. It was like 176 to 106, and so I think that's kind of what we saw from games 4, game 6, and game 7. Every game from 4, 5, 6, 7 was a blowout. Knicks did get theirs in game 5, but for Indiana, game 4, game 6, game 7, I mean, they just ran us out the gym with that offense, man. So needless to say, were you surprised? I mean, still 60-something% from the field last night in the Garden. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, in a game 7, which is traditionally the lowest scoring game of the entire series throughout the game of basketball. Game 7 is an outlier even compared to playoff basketball, let alone the regular season. People get nervous, they get tight, their jump shot is off. Starters, like we saw with Nikola Jokic in Denver last night, are usually asked to play between 45 and 48 total minutes because there might be no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they go out there and they set the NBA record for field goal percentage.
Unbelievable.
I mean, and there's a difference than a team that just caught fire and you tip your hat and you move on, because the NBA is built around 3-point variance. Yeah. You got teams shooting between 40 and 50 times every single night. There's going to be a night where that team makes more than half of them, and you're going to get blown out by any team in the league.
Yeah.
Right? But for it to happen in a game 7, it was not because someone just had an out-of-body experience. Every single shot was wide open. It was in transition. The ABC camera can't even cut back to the wide, normal angle of the game before the Pacers are already in the front court attacking the rim.
Yeah.
It was just a relentless foot on the gas that put downhill pressure on a Knicks team that is used to it, and they have proven in this series that they can handle it 3 times. But those championship rounds analogy that I was using before, it was too overwhelming. And those shots went in because you're at 9 a.m. at the YMCA and it's open gym. Those were the type of shots that they were shooting.
Wide open.
And they get a lead, and they don't even need to worry about grinding in the last seconds and dealing with the Madison Square Garden organ, which was starting to get loud in that third quarter, by the way. When the deficit came down to single digits, you could feel the camera was like starting to reverberate with the Garden knows something is up in that organ. Dun, dun, defense. It just gets louder and it gets louder, and we're so close. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, it was tough, man. You know, tough to see. Like, I didn't expect much out of OG and Hart, and then you see OG coming out there. I mean, he's pretty much speed walking out there on the court. I'm like, this doesn't look good. He hit those 5 miraculous points in the beginning, gave them an emotional boost. He did his job, sat down. Hart, I'm surprised he even played the entire game just based on his injury. Typically will sideline guys from weeks to months. So, you know, just continues to exemplify just grit and grind, heart and soul of this team. I mean, Josh Hart this year really put that New York stamp on his chest, and the fan base just really rallied around him, man. Like we don't.
Can I propose something? You're the proper, you and your fan base,
Yeah.
the proper audience for this. It will get John Starks' blessing too, but the same way in soccer and international football, the number 10 has meaning on every single team. It is reserved for an offensive captain, usually the best scorer. Everyone knows the number 10 is the guy that you're marking first on a soccer pitch. And with the Knicks, like number 3, think about the number 3s throughout history. To me, it starts with John Starks.
Yeah.
But the number 3 should go to a New York Knick, which best resembles John Starks. And I know John Starks was more of a J.R. Smith than a Josh Hart, but it was just this blue-collar mentality type guy that does the intangibles and embodies the New York Knicks branding of their franchise. Josh Hart is all of that. He is a walking, breathing reminder of 1994 to me.
Yeah.
And he hit the big shots, by the way, in the 76ers series.
He hit a lot of big shots, man.
Let's not say Josh Hart is just an intangibles guy, because he was our offense when we needed it the most. I would love to hear your thoughts on a number 3 on New York, not being retired, but there is this unwritten rule that you don't pick number 3 unless you are indoctrinated by the club,
Yeah.
by the Supreme Court justices of John Starks and Josh Hart. What do you think?
I like that, man. There's a certain bar of excellence that you have to adhere to, whether it's being an emotional leader or a guy that's going to leave it out there on the court. Like you have to have those qualities to rock that. I like that, and it's just as you said with Hart. His game brought you back to the 90s, and that's what this team brought to this fan base. You know, it was that 90s energy, man. It was, you know, the casual of casual fans is into it. You go to the deli and they see me with the KFTV ad. Oh, what do you think, man? Are we going to win? I mean, my parents, as casual as they come. You know, my mom has no idea. She thinks, you know, Super Bowl might be played between the Yankees and the Red Wings. You know, that's how into sports she is. But she's into it. Like, that's what this team brought back. It was that old 90s energy where everybody in the city was locked in on the Knicks this year, man. It was great.
So this is why this team this season was so special, win or lose, because not everyone was alive for, I mean, I got gray hair. I know you were alive for it too. Not everyone was alive for 1992-93 season. And they hear stories about it. And a lot of people on NBA Twitter are between the age of, let's say, 18 and 23, right? They hear the stories and they just grow up with this. I hate the 90s because everyone always tries to tell me how cool it was. You know what? And they're entitled to their opinion. But what I loved about this season is those fans that didn't get to experience it in person just got an expedited education and a diploma in everything that we're talking about in just one season.
True.
Because usually that takes years.
It takes time.
That takes an entire era of Knicks basketball to build those guys. No, man, this season with the Knicks was exactly what it was like. And yeah, I loved it because we finished as the 2 seed. We won a lot of games, but we've won games in the past. I mean, shit, we were what, the 4 seed just a couple of years ago? The Carmelo teams and making the playoffs.
Seed, 54 wins.
Yeah. It wasn't the number of games we won. It was how we won.
It's how you win.
And I have this mentality of being a Knicks fan that I can really only compare to the way Tampa Bay Rays fans feel and Oakland A's fans feel. That Moneyball. We're going to win a championship doing it the way that nobody thinks is possible. And when we do, it's going to be worth 30 Yankees championships, 30 Red Sox championships. And when that day comes, like, you can kill me because I will have reached the mountaintop. I don't have anything else to live for. And I feel that way about the New York Knicks because 1, I haven't seen a championship in my lifetime. 2, I've been pretty damn close. If it wasn't for a 2 of 18 performance in game 7 at the Summit.
True indeed.
And number 3, this blue collar basketball, I feel like is only played by one franchise. I love that we are these overachievers and that everyone else is out there with their mercenaries, right? Knicks basketball is a brand. It is a lifestyle, and I want it to work.
It's a way of life.
Why I'm happy about this season.
Throw some 5s in the chat for Rob Perez, man. He went against us in the predictions, but he was using his brain, not his heart, man. This was just basketball, just knowing the game, and he came out to be right. He was right on that. So, but at the end of the day, he is a diehard, true and true. So throw some 5s in the chat for Rob Perez, man. Absolutely. Call us up 657-383-1509, or you can hit us up on the KFTV Discord. Okay, so on the contender topic. You know, we talked about OG. As soon as the season was over, not even when the season was over, based on his injury history, you have fans who say, don't sign him. Don't bring him back. He's injury prone. To that, you say what?
Well, that's just not going to happen. I mean, he's going to opt out of his PO, his player option, and the Knicks are going to do everything in their power to re-sign him. For a couple of reasons. First of all, I don't even count that as a loss yesterday because it should be 26-6. The record is 26-5.
Yeah.
Speaks for itself. All right. He played a couple of minutes, 26-5 when OG is active in the lineup. That's 31 games of sample size. I understand he's hurt. He's been hurt in the past. He missed that Toronto Raptors championship run as well.
Yeah.
So it's a thing. But the difference that he makes when he's on the floor, and if you can get all of these Knicks together at once, I don't know what you didn't see this season that wouldn't make you think that they could be a championship contender next year if they're able to run it back. Reason number 2 is the Knicks traded RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley. were two consummate professionals, I thought, who were part of the fabric of this franchise and who I will root for until the day they retire. So they are always, always Knicks. But they got traded for a reason, for a guy that technically could be a free agent at season's end. Doesn't make a lot of sense until you realize that OG is a CAA guy and we are the CAA mafia. And while they'll never admit it because that's technically tampering, you better believe there is an under the table deal between those two that we've already figured out what this contract is going to look like. And it's probably just getting it ironed out, waiting for the moratorium when he officially opts out of his player option. I don't know anything, despite being, disclosure, a CAA guy, that everyone else doesn't.
I'm just putting the pieces there together. It goes. There he goes. He's a CAA guy, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, that's not news.
No, they call me a CAA guy as well, man. So that's why. It's kind of like the internal joke here at KFTV. Man.
Oh, okay.
So welcome to the family, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But my point is, he's going to be I would bet every dollar he's going to be a New York Knick in some form or fashion next year. The injuries suck, of course, but when he is on the floor, I repeat myself for the people who just joined us, but he is the most important New York Knicks player. That, for me, for many years was Mitchell Robinson, but OG has taken that over because of how he can guard positions 1 through 5. And he is knocking down those corner threes that RJ Barrett was unable to in mass quantities. RJ loved his game. Man. I loved everything about RJ's game. It's tough, especially a left-handed jump shooter. Everything looks good off the fingertips with lefties. But other than a shot against the Boston Celtics at the buzzer, those are the ones you remember. But the ones you forget are all the ones in the first quarter against the Hornets and the Hawks that, you got to make that, RJ. OG, he makes those shots, and that's the difference, and that's why the trade happened.
Yeah, I mean, and on top of that, his agent is Sam Rose, the son of Leon Rose, right? So that's why I've been telling people, listen, man, that deal has been done on the Thanksgiving table since last year, before the trade was even made. The extension was already done. There's no way that they're letting this guy walk anywhere, and it's a risk worth having for me. The injuries be damned. The impact that he brought here. I was screaming for these guys to have a wing on this team since 2017 when they passed up on Mikal Bridges and took Kevin Knox. This team has been in need of a 3-and-D wing. They finally got him years later, and he transformed this entire defense. Now, go out in the draft. They got 2 draft picks this year. We'll see what they do with them. Whether they feel one, hopefully they do. Go get some depth. I think they need some wing depth in case he does miss time. You don't want to be the only wing on the team. I think they need a lot more wing versatility. Guys that can play the 3, that can play the 4, guys that can play the 2, play the 3, that can provide some more on the defensive end with some wingspan and give you some of those attributes that OG Anunoby gives you. But there's no way that they're going to let him walk. There's just no way. He's been that important to the team. The hamstring injury was unfortunate, but there's no question. First day of free agency, I'm signing that contract for him.
Yeah. So that if that's a given, and forgive me because we were both working after the game was over, but I'm sure you gave your thoughts on what to do with Julius Randle. Yeah. And before I give you mine, I would love to hear yours so that I can tailor either my counter argument or my agreement.
I haven't, because I was too wounded, man. Even this morning, I told you I'm too wounded to talk about the offseason. So this is why we came here today, to kind of start those talks, because
let's do it.
If we're going to have that conversation about whether or not they're contenders, the biggest question, the elephant in the room, is Julius.
Yeah,
it's Julius.
It is. And it's not, sorry to cut you off, but it's not because Julius Randle is a bad player. You could make the case in the first half of this season that he was the Batman in the Batman Robin analogy, and it was Jalen Brunson who was feeding off of him. Yeah. Usage percentages north of 40% every night, shots in the 20s in field goal attempts. And when we needed a bucket down the stretch, it was to Julius in the short post, go into that weak side fadeaway, which he loves so much. Yeah. I mean, that was kind of our way of getting to the finish line. Then he goes down. We bring in OG Anunoby. We pivot our offense into space. Mitchell Robinson down on the block. Everyone else spacing out the floor with dead eyes in the corner. And Jalen, you now have this entire world to roam. And he ascends to a level of superstardom that is so high, it now has us questioning if Julius Randle can reintegrate himself into an offense without needing the ball in his hands as much as it was, because can he be as efficient when he's just standing in the corner? Right. He's a bully ball type guy.
Right.
You know, it's give me the rock. I'm going to power dribble, gather, and go up. And it's going to get clogged down there the same way it was clogged before we traded RJ Barrett. You know, everyone is going under their screens because you don't shoot a high enough 3-point percentage that requires me to give up some ground and some spacing to go over the top. And with Julius Randle, another guy that I love to death, but the ascension of Jalen Brunson is now having me ask, can we pair Randle and one of our God knows how many first round picks? What do we have? 7 up to 9 potentially in the next 5 years. You start taking some of those. Randle is going to be seen as an asset. And if there is either a disgruntled star or another CAA guy that's headed to free agency a year from now, could you say, here's Julius Randle locked up on a very reasonable deal, and that deal's only going to get more reasonable when the NBA salary cap explodes in 2026 with the new broadcast rights deal coming in? We're talking about contracts that might reach $100 million a couple years down the road from now. And then you get Julius Randle for 30-something million dollars. Like that will be a steal, and teams know it too. So where do you stand? Do you think there is a place for him if he's not the on-ball alpha?
Before the playoffs started, I said that, you know, this team could still go on a good run, but with the injury, just to Randle alone, I felt like we're going to categorize this playoff as the what-if playoff, because you're going to be left wondering, what could they have been at full strength with these two all-stars, these two guys that draw double teams, these two guys that can create off the dribble and score and create for themselves and be guys that defenses have to respect. And so I'm still left with that. I'm like, damn, like if we have this full team together this year, they could have had enough to go to the finals. I think they could have beaten Boston with a healthy Randle, with a healthy OG. But you are right in that, is it an ideal fit with these two players? I don't think that they have truly maximized the potential with each other in terms of a two-man game, in terms of making each other better. I think that can improve. You're right. I agree with you 100% in terms of, does Julius space the floor well enough to allow Jalen to be that same guy? Because he's not a great three-point shooter. And he's a guy who needs rhythm. He's a guy who needs the ball in his hands to get that rhythm and hold on to the ball. And sometimes when he does hold on to the ball, tricky things happen, turnovers happen, things of that nature. So, you know, I've been a guy who hasn't trusted Julius Randle in a big spot. In 2 playoff series, I haven't seen it. Now you have another one where he's not even available for you. As the Knicks continue having to pay OG, you have to think that they're going to pay Hartenstein. I wouldn't let him walk either.
No, hell no.
Jalen's going to get his contract in 2 years. I think he's going to get close to 50. And then you also have to decide about Julius. So this team is going to be creeping closer to that apron. And by that time, you have to have a solid contender on your hands for me to justify the spend. So for the time being, would I keep him here? Yes, I want to see what this looks like at full strength. But if they can get an upgrade, I've always said, if you can get a guy that's better than him, I would do it. I would do it.
It pains me to say that I agree with you, because the last thing I want to do is pull at the threads of the fabric that have built the chemistry of this Knicks team.
Yeah.
Which means trading anyone for that mercenary that I just led off my sermon with. I don't want the mercenary on this team.
Yeah.
I want to keep the core as it is together. But because Julius was injured, unfortunate for him, he falls out of the rotation and this Knicks team comes together. And it looks like he's now expendable to our eye test. And it's hard to say that without being insulting, derogatory, or like dismissive of his accomplishments as a New York Knick, because he was arguably like the first one here to get it all started. So I'm not going to forget that. But this is a business.
It's business.
And if the Knicks are in the business of winning a championship, Julius Randle looks quite expendable as the one guy that you can trade that will bring back that piece next to Jalen Brunson to get you to the championship aspiration category, at least realistically. And you're not going to lose a whole lot, because the Knicks just proved they're championship contenders already without him. That's the piece that I'm at personally with Randle. And is there a world? Because I know what the perfect trade is.
They would never. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
No,
what do you think?
I mean, the perfect trade is obvious. The Brooklyn Nets will never do it. It's Mikal Bridges for Julius Randle and 3 unprotected first rounders and whatever salary cap is needed to satisfy the Brooklyn Nets. You assemble the infinity gauntlet of Villanova players.
The final stone. Go get him.
No, it's the most obvious deal. But the problem is Mikal Bridges' contract is somehow as good as Jalen Brunson's. We have the best contract in the NBA in terms of team friendliness.
Yeah.
Because Jalen Brunson not only doesn't make what he's worth on the open market, it goes down. It keeps going down. Mikal Bridges is locked up for a couple more years, if I'm not mistaken. He might have an option as well. And why on earth would Brooklyn ever trade him, even if he's not living up to the expectation and filling the void for Kevin Durant? You know, they had a disappointing campaign, but are they going to help the Knicks win a championship in their city? It's like the Clippers would ever help the Lakers? Absolutely not. Not a chance.
Not a chance. Not a chance. Mikal being that final piece would be nice to have him, man. But there's just no way. Him going to Phoenix, him going to the Nets, I think that pretty much took the wind out of that whole thing. Like, there's no chance. So I just don't know, man. I think they have to run it back and just see. But the thing is that the question is, with the Bogdanovich contract, that's one contract that you can use to help in terms of trading pieces off. Once that's gone, now you're talking about more rostered, salaried, and rostered players, and potentially breaking up more of that chemistry. Or potentially you might have to trade a Hart. You might have to trade a DiVincenzo for the sake of getting better. And I think that's where things get dicey.
I'm getting yelled at by the chat for my recommendation. And it's not just because of Mikal for Randle and all the reasons that we just discussed from a basketball X's and O's standpoint. The reason is because of the relationship that clearly has value when you combine these Villanova guys, DiVincenzo, Hart, and even Brunson to an extent. They were just fine on their separate teams, and you put them all together, and there's very clearly something special there. And Brooklyn would know that. So they're, of course, going to charge a premium. So when I say 3 unprotected first round,
you got to pay the price. You got to pay.
Yeah, well, you're going to well then trade some of those protected ones instead. Yeah. It's going to cost.
It's going to cost you.
You're going to have to make a deal that Brooklyn can say, like, they're going to point and laugh for overpaying. Otherwise, they're just not helping you. So I'm trying to be realistic as opposed to let's just swap Randle and Mikal Bridges.
It's not a 2K trade. It's a business of basketball. If you want to incentivize your crosstown rivals who you've been burying in terms of popularity, in terms of everything when it comes to basketball, this is a one-team town. Let's just keep it a bean. This is a one-team town, and it always has been. It always will be. So you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay a New York tax, a crosstown tax, whatever it is, to even try to get the guy. That's just reality, man.
So seeing the rumors from just the general newsmakers that Randle is going to be on the table, and that will be a name that pops up in free agency. I don't know if we see anything get done during the draft with the Knicks, even unless they're combining their picks and maybe moving up. Maybe they get their piece in the draft and say, let's just run it back, including Randle.
Run it back.
And then you go you move up into the teens. You move up to like 17 with your 2 picks, because Lord knows you don't have a whole bunch of space in cap room. You're saving that for Hartenstein, right? So you don't need 2 first-round cap holds on your team right now.
Right.
That's, I guess, my thought process, but it'll be interesting. And the whole world's going to wait to see first what happens with LeBron. He has to sign, and then the dominoes start to fall after that in free agency. And then there's going to be Paul George as well. And Julius Randle, at some point, the name is going to come up here once the smoke clears. So I would be stunned if anything happened during the draft, just because I don't know if there's anything in there that requires such a massive move, for a player that's there's no Wemby here. Obviously there's no Zion. I see just a lot of mid-level type of jostling and moving around for teams that have an eye on a prospect and are trying to clear their salary cap or take on smaller rookie contracts long-term. I think that's the most that we're going to see, but who knows, man?
Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up on the free boys. CP the franchise. Rob Perez in the building. What do you guys think, man? Are we good to go as is? Do you run it back? Or is it time to make a little bit of a splash? King Deej on the Discord. King Deej, go ahead and unmute your mic. King Deej, there we go.
Hear me?
Yep, loud and clear, sir. You have the floor, sir.
Okay. First and foremost, salute to UCP. My guy, Rob. Worldwide Rob, good to see that you got him on here, CP.
Absolutely.
That Knicks recap. Hey, listen, you know how I feel, CP. I told you yesterday, honestly, I don't really got a horse in this race as far as all season for the first time ever. I see the chat gang is killing Rob. I think they're killing the idea of what we have to give up. So my question to you is rapid fire style, either you or Rob or both of you guys. Is there a universe where these people that you're mentioning, the Mikal Bridges, the Paul Georges of the world, somebody even said Kyle Kuzma in the chat.
That's ridiculous.
Do you think that there's a universe where the Knicks now, with this team differently constructed, target those guys while including to keep Julius? Like, would they rather give up picks to combine somebody with a Brunson?
I don't think you don't have enough salary to go get any of those guys without putting Julius in there. All you have is that Bogdanovich 17 mil. After that, guys are gonna have to start coming out of that roster, man. That is why you say, okay, do you want to break up the Nova trio? It's either one of the two Nova guys or it's Julius. You don't have that many options.
And so then my follow-up question is now, what do you guys think about Mitch or Ihart? Because that's an interesting contract if you combine that with Bojan. So I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna go back to the chat gang. CP, love you. Rob, do your thing, man.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I think, look, you have the Bogdanovich contract, which is close to what the Fournier one was, which is at 17. But you don't have anything left. You traded RJ and Quick already for OG. You traded Grimes away. There's only but so many guys at a team that is going to want on the Knicks. It's going to be Julius. McBride's deal is not lucrative. Are you going to trade Hart? Are you going to trade DiVincenzo? There's literally like three guys. Does anybody want Mitch right now based on his injury history? It's hard to say.
So, thoughts. Shout out to that caller, by the way. Thank you for the kind words. People are always nicer when you speak to them in person as opposed to behind the keyboard. It's so funny how that works.
Absolutely.
So, quick thought regarding his first question about Julius is if he's involved in a trade, it feels like to me that trade has to happen before unrestricted free agency opens, because the Knicks may be forced. There's going to be so much competition for Hartenstein's services that the Knicks may have to go over the tax threshold. And once you hit that first apron, then it starts to limit your ability to trade guys without certain stipulations, right? In terms of what you can take on. Number of players in a trade. That second tax apron, the Warriors tax apron, you're like restricted in everything that you can do. So if you're going to make that deal, don't you want to get it done before Hartenstein is required to get paid so that you have full flexibility to make the best deal work?
Right.
Because if you end up retaining Hartenstein's services and you're into the tax and now you're deciding you want to trade Randle, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm sure there's some smarter people in the front office that have a plan already in place. But in terms of timing, it feels like to me Randle needs to be sooner rather than later. Otherwise, you're just running it back. Bring back Hartenstein and let's go.
This was today's article from Fred Katz, friend of the program. Shout out to Fred Katz, man, and he'll be on the show later on this week. He says, this is today's article in The Athletic. He says the organization is still targeting the upcoming summer as the time to trade for the next big name. Randle can become a free agent in 2025 and will be due for a raise then, as can Brunson, who is eligible for an extension this summer but could make more money waiting until 2025 free agency, which I expect Brunson to do. He says a year from now, just as you said, Rob, the Knicks will become more expensive financially, and with the current collective bargaining agreement, this summer is the time for a star trade. He goes into all the draft picks that they have. Then he says it's not clear on who the star will be. Even the Knicks do not know. They are counting on one universal truth in the NBA. Someone unexpected always becomes available.
Of course.
There it is.
So I'm not going to budge. I want I'm biased because I know Mikal personally, and I think he'll be perfect for this team.
Yeah, and he's miserable in Brooklyn. Let's be real. He's miserable in Brooklyn. He wants to be here, man.
He's the meme of, what is it, Squidward from SpongeBob looking down the window with all his Knicks friends are having blast.
Right.
Getting the attention and having a great time. That's the way he's got to feel. And I shouldn't even like the Villanova Wildcats, by the way, because I'm a Tar Heel, and that team at the buzzer of the national championship sent me home, like crying in my hands. So I should hate these guys, but I can't, because they just play too good of basketball together, and I value their chemistry. So no matter what name that people throw out there, unless Paul George comes out and says, I'm signing with the Knicks in unrestricted free agency, it's going to cost them no assets, and I'm willing to do it for a discount, which is never going to happen in 1,000 years. That's the only way that I'm going to change the rankings, the WOB rankings of realistic players that we can acquire that will get us to that. Okay, that's the favorite in the East. Like Mikal Bridges, if that happens, we're the favorites in the East.
I can't trust PG, man.
Yeah, but if you get him with costing nothing besides salary cap, that's different. That's my point. Like, Mikal's going to cost you assets.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
But Paul George wouldn't even have to be the number one player on the team. He can just stand over there in the corner and way off if he needs to and just catch and shoot.
Shout out to Steven Santiago. $20 super chat says, I can listen to you guys for days. Make this happen monthly and take my money. To the Thibs haters, you can't call yourself a diehard and try to argue his rotations, especially this year. You all sound silly. Yeah, there was a lot. I definitely want to get to that topic. I don't want to deviate from the Randle thing right now, but we got to talk about the Thibs with the minutes police, because that was a big topic as well. So we're definitely going to bookmark that for this show. Jay, $10 super chat to CP. We outside. OG was the final piece. Next year, we will be great if we can figure out rotations and offensive spread. Plus, now our bench guys have playoff experience. $10 super chat from Son from Brooklyn says, PCP, what up, Rob? The Knicks should run it back next season. No Paul George, no Kyle Kuzma. A healthy Julius will get this team deep into the playoffs. Okay, so he believes. He's a believer in Julius. Okay. Shout out to, hey, what's that over there? $5 super chat says, try to get J-Dub from OKC. Okay, so he's way far gone. Shout out to that guy.
Why on earth?
He's way far out there. But here's his rationale. If younger, plays defense, and can score with or without the ball in his hands. And he seems like a fit. So here's a guy who plays NBA 2K all day. He's probably a youngster. You know what I mean? He's on my GM or whatever that mode is, and he's just wheeling and dealing all day. So maybe the disgruntled star is one J-Dub from the OKC Thunder. All right.
Hey, I like to shop on Rodeo Drive too in Los Angeles, but window shopping is a lot different than going in the store and buying.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, let's get to the phones, man. Hear what the people got to say on this topic, man. 954. What's your name? Where you calling in from? Run it back or make a move. What are you doing?
Hey, man. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. How you feeling?
All right, perfect. How you doing? My name is Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching you for like a couple of years now. This is back when like CK and Ash were.
By the way, are you on a speakerphone, bro? Are you on a speakerphone by any chance?
No, I'm on my Beats. My headphones.
Okay, it's kind of low, but
I'm gonna take it off. Can you hear me better now?
Much better. I don't know. What were you on before?
I was on the Beats, like the solos.
Yeah. I'm telling you guys got to get rid of them AirPods, man. They're no good, and the feds are tapping into your stuff right and left, man. Get off those things, man. Go back to the courts. I'm telling you.
Yeah, my bad, brother. But,
thank you.
Man, this was an amazing season. The best since probably like the 2012 Knicks, which I had fun like back in high school when I used to watch them. Just really sucks that the basketball gods couldn't bless us at least like one more round, just like one more game, and then that's it. If we go out in the blaze of glory against Boston, so be it. But always next year, it's a little weird now because like I think what Rob said, which amazing Twitter account, Rob, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned the Batman-Robin dynamic, which was like Julius and then JB.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's changed to the point now it's like Batman-Nightwing, where JB is growing up to be his own star, his own status, his own like fan cast. So it's very weird how this offseason is going to be. But I don't see anyone that matches Julius in these rumors. We need a power forward. He has playmaking. He could score on his own. if you watch like this whole like postseason run, like JB had to have the ball the whole time. If you look last year, he got like catch and shoot threes. This year, he couldn't get that much. We just need to run it back. I think we just have to run it back, and we'll be fine. Amazing season, amazing fan cast. Where we at right now, we have over 1,300 watchers, only 100 likes. Let's bring up those likes.
There you go.
And stay blessed, guys.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the call, man. Like, share, and subscribe. CP the Franchise, Rob Perez in the building. Go ahead, Rob.
Okay. So, can I... Gosh, I've already gotten killed over my Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, it's all right. Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah. No tomatoes. No tomatoes. Yeah, good.
Yeah, this is a safe space. No one's going to screen record this and put this on Twitter. If I told you, oh God, that there was a player available and he would cost you $8.5 million per season. He is a veteran, small/power forward in the league who is underachieved is not even the appropriate term. He was overvalued, but he's available. And in the right situation for not a lot of money, would you plug and play this player on the New York Knicks? Do you know who I'm referring to?
$8 million?
That's the no. Oh. At $8.5 million per year, I would take this player on our team, include him in our rotation only because he accepted that number, because it's not a liability. The chat, oh God, the chat's already starting to throw tomatoes.
Who are they saying? Who are they saying?
I don't want to say the name because they're going to yell, but the reasoning for it is that you are only going to rely. This is a bucket getter who was not very accurate this postseason, but has shown in the past in the right situation, he can produce points. And if we're talking about stretch fours that have size and can get points, does Tobias Harris fit that?
No.
For $8 million?
I can't do it, man. No way. No.
That's why I said 8, not 20.
I can't do it.
Not 20, 8.
I can't do it.
Just 8.
As a Long Island guy, I don't even want this guy back home. No way. There's no way. He completely melted in Philly.
Hold on. Before I get killed, I'm not advocating for it. It was a mere proposition.
Yeah.
And the chat's going to get so pissed that I just wanted to throw that out there for an extreme discount. Would you bring him as like a 9th man on your team?
On a vet minimum type? Sure.
No, I said he's not vet min. I said $8 million.
Oh, that's less. I mean, DiVincenzo signed for vet min. That was like 11, right? So, yeah.
That's not a vet min. I thought there's a different classification for making that much.
No. I'm sorry. That's mid-level. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
mid-level.
Vet min is like 1-2 million.
Yeah. I'm talking about mid-level.
Anybody at that number. Yeah. You can sign us and just see if we can make a couple of threes for $1 million and then just waive them.
So you're talking about around mid-level. If they had the mid-level to go get Tobias Harris.
Below. The $8 million.
You're talking about 8.
Like the one that's below the mid-level.
Yeah. Is that the room exception?
Yeah, there's that other one. If you're under the tax apron, you get that other exception.
Yeah.
Listen, don't yell at me. I'm here to the caller set me up because he was saying stretch 4 bucket getter, and you're talking about replacing Randle. And I'm saying if you don't want to replace Randle in an insurance policy, how about a bigger version of Alec Burks?
Yeah, but he just comes up. See, big money comes up big in the big spot, man. They tried to bury us last night, and I got some sound bites to play for the fans before this is over. Big money comes up big in a big spot. He deserves a vet minimum or even maybe a little bit of a raise. But Tobias Harris, he's a small-time player, man. I can't tell you the last good game he had. Maybe it was in like a Clipper uniform.
Man, do you buy stocks when they're low or do you buy them at their all-time high? You're supposed to buy them low, man. Sell high.
I can't bring Tobias home, man. Oh, no way. Move on. As a depth piece, maybe, but he's come up so small in a big market like Philly, man. I don't know. He melted out there. 917, what's your name? Where you calling in from? Trading Julius or running it back? What are you doing?
Exciting to
run it back, baby. Run it back. Rob, I love all your takes, but that Tobias Harris is crazy.
It's not a take.
You're going to hate me for this, but honestly speaking, we got to find a way to get rid of your love, the Loch Ness Monster. Mitch could only rebound. We need another big that could do us right. And I say run it back, man. Nobody want to give Jules his props, but I say this. I think he was going to prove us all wrong this playoffs, and all they need to do is stop big fishing like Leon does.
Yeah.
I mean, I praise that dude. He did the right thing by not big fishing. He shouldn't big fish over the summer and just keep building, getting the right pieces. Get a solid wing to help OG and another consistent score, and we on our way. Love you guys. Thanks for the call.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it, man. All right. So he says run it back. All right, we're going to roll rapid fire through some of these. 313, what's your name? Where you calling in from? Running it back or making a big splash? What are you doing?
What's up, CP? This is Dwayne.
Hey, how are you?
We got to get rid of Jules.
Oh, okay.
I think we need to get rid of Mitch. I like OG, but he's only played 50 games the last 4 years. Not saying we're going to replace him. Let's keep him. But the main thing, I know you say we're going to table it later, but who are we going to get over here that's going to play and be ready for those minutes that Thibs going to run them clean into the ground? But
okay,
I'm not a Julius fan. We got to get rid of him. He got to go.
Wow. All right.
We'll figure out everything else, but he got to go. All right.
There we go. This caller is ready to clean house here. All right, Rob, a lot of, minutes police. He ran these players into the ground. All these players are hurt because of Thibs. He sabotaged Derrick Rose and he sabotaged our guys. Where do you stand on that?
First of all, you can't use Julius Randle as the Thibodeau runs his guys into the ground when it's a shoulder injury from falling from a rebound. If you're going to do the whole Thibodeau ruins players, it's got to be a chronic injury that is just not rehabilitated well, rehabbed well. The Derrick Rose knees, when you're putting 40 plus minutes every single night on that knee, okay, that's a different conversation. The Jimmy Butler, back when he was with Chicago going to Minnesota, he was getting injured and banged up all the time, and he's out there for 40 plus minutes. Then I can have that conversation. And Jalen Brunson's hand, okay, it may have been, we don't know if it was partially fractured before. He'd been wearing the tape over there. Yeah. Then he breaks it or re-breaks it. That every example, at least with the Knicks and Thibodeau, does not feel like it is as a result of the traditional reputation that he has as this guy that ruins players. Now, there's Josh Hart with his abdomen, but at the end of the day, it's the training staff that makes the decision, not the coach, right? It's the player saying, I'm good to go, and then the training staff evaluating and saying, he's good to go, right? So I don't think that even the coach has a say in a medical decision. What he has a say in is how long he gets to stay in the game or not. So if he gets the green light, Thibodeau is never thinking 25 to 30 minutes unless I'm instructed by the training staff to do that. Otherwise, you let him off the leash and you go. So I find myself being a Thibodeau defender in this regard because I watched that playoff series against the Indiana Pacers. The whole world is seeing the series through the lens of here's another Knicks team with only half of its guys. And then I'm seeing this series as, yes, that's true, but the half of the guys that are left standing have been training for this with Thibodeau through their style of play and practices for the past couple of seasons. There is no one more prepared for this adversity because of the way they do practice. And I'm sure that you have read, as many people in this chat have read, Chris Herring's Blood in the Garden, and the first couple chapters are about some of those training camps in South Carolina in the early 90s. And I can guarantee you that these Tom Thibodeau practices are like kumbaya compared to those, because we're in the year 2024 now. So whatever Thibodeau is doing is just a drop in the bucket compared to what they were going through down in Charleston, South Carolina in those mid-90s, where Pat Riley was quite literally, admittedly, trying to get these guys to kill each other to see which one came out on top. And then I'll deal with the survivors. So I think the Knicks are trained in a special way, just to answer your question, that other teams aren't able to replicate, and got a little unlucky with some of these freak injuries, but nothing that no other team is not experiencing either.
I looked at it in two ways. I defended Thibs on it. Number one, I don't see how people can speak in just concrete absolutes that it's the minutes during the season, it's the minutes during the postseason that led to these injuries. You can't, everybody's going off of it's obvious or clearly. They're speaking from emotion and not with any type of objective reasoning. I've yet to see any direct correlation between the increased usage into injury. You can get muscle strains. Kevin Durant had a calf injury in the beginning of the season. Halliburton had a hamstring injury in the middle of the season. Guys have muscle strains at different points of the season. You can't just say, well, it's because of overuse, it's because this and that. Jamal Murray had a calf injury. Is anybody blaming Mike Malone? Is anybody blaming Mazzulla for Kristaps' calf injury? You know what I'm saying?
Is anyone blaming Rick Carlisle for taking this team to the fastest paced team in the league? They have injuries too.
There you go.
He's running Halliburton 110 possessions per game, foot on the gas, go
with a hamstring.
Not even a Knicks style, a slower pace of play.
Right.
He's pushing them to dead sprint like they have unlimited turbo in NBA Jam.
Right.
But I don't hear anything about
Rick
Carlisle running his guys into the ground.
You don't hear it. And, you know, the Julius injury, Knicks are up by 15. Miami has all their starters in. What would the conversation have been had Thibs taken them out and they lose that game with Miami coming back? It's, why'd you take the starters out? But because he's out there, all the stars are out there, he lands awkwardly on the shoulder, dislocates it. It's, oh, he shouldn't have been in there to begin with. I didn't agree with that. I thought that was coincidental. It happens in sports. I was there when Bogdanovich got injured. Batum just rolled up on his ankle. Mitchell Robinson is a notorious. You can pencil Mitch for injury time every single year. It doesn't matter how many minutes he's playing, starting, coming off the bench. Mitch is built like a player that is going to get hurt. Foot injury, ankle injury. He's had them all. Kevin Durant broke his foot. Joel Embiid came into the league with a broken foot. He's still getting injured to this day. Like, that's how big guys, those tall guys, some of those guys that are built are going to be susceptible to injury.
Every time Mitchell Robinson jumps, he hits his head on the backboard or his fingers on the rim.
Correct.
How many times has he broken an extremity on his body? That just from being out there. I love the guy to death. And there's a reason why he is a no-fly zone above the rim, because he can get that high, but there's a piece of metal in the way. Right. And many times he gets either pushed into it, he's not cognizant of where it is, and he gets hurt. And then he has to come down where there's bodies sprawled all over the floor. He rolls his ankle, he's got surgery. And then the only conversation we're having is, did we rush Mitchell Robinson back? And did Thibodeau run him into the ground when he was supposed to miss the season originally with that same ankle? Tom Thibodeau, I guarantee you, because first of all, it is illegal to be in the same doctor's office as the patient and the doctor. So he's just getting the messaging from the training staff to him, and then he makes a decision based on all the valuations that are given to him. So if they say Mitchell Robinson is good to go, and Mitchell Robinson is good to go, what do you expect Tom Thibodeau to do? Say, no, we're still going to play this one skeptically. And you know what? He did that with OG Anunoby. No one is talking about him pulling the plug on OG, because the Tom Thibodeau who runs guys into the ground would have kept OG out there for 45 minutes last night with him wobbling around on one leg.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
Right.
So it's, to your point, the world is not about absolutes or the far ends of the extreme. And I'm not getting into things like politics or the economy or social, but just in basketball, you know, there is middle ground, believe it or not. And you can find examples of Tom Thibodeau being guilty, but you can do that for every other coach too.
Every other one. Great point, man. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for your boys. CP the franchise. Rob Perez in the building. Chopping it up on Knicks offseason talk, man. Squad is done. KFTV is never done. Call us up, man, 657-383-1509, or hit us up on the KFTV Discord. Okay, 774. What's your name? Where you calling in from?
How you doing, CP? Andre. I'm
Good.
calling from Massachusetts. Thanks so much for taking the call. Listen, I got to concur. The Knicks' number one target in free agency. It's not Devin Booker. It's not Paul George. We got to lock in on Mikal Bridges. Bring him across the river. Bring him to Manhattan. We got to complete La Cosa Nova. Even if it means we got to move on from Julius Randle. Here's the reason why we need Mikal Bridges. What is the situation with Julius Randle now? He's injured this year. He's been in the playoffs the last 2 years, hasn't really performed, but there's injury issues there with Julius. I'm not going to say he's in, but there's concern. Obviously, OG was injured in Toronto. He's the perfect player for the Knicks because of his defensive efficiency, and Thibs is a defensive wizard, but he's injury prone. What does Mikal Bridges do? Besides being an all-star talent, he shows up to work every single doggone day. every single day. And so he will be there, hook, line, and sinker. There's no two ways about it. He is an all-star level player. He can guard 1 through 4, maybe even throw him down there at 5. Can't really guard the 5. But Mikal Bridges should be their number 1 overall free agency prospect. If you cannot get Mikal Bridges, again, as other callers have said, I don't have a real problem with running it back because OG is not going to be able to play a full season. 55 games, you got to rest OG, and you got to, and the whole thing with Thibs running people into the ground, this slander, I've spoken on it before. I'm not hearing it. Nobody knew who Jimmy Butler was. Nobody knew who Jimmy Butler was when he was drafted by the Chicago Bulls. What happened? Derrick Rose had knee problems at Simeon. He had knee problems at Kentucky. He's had knee problems his whole life. When he goes down, Jimmy Butler comes up under Tibbs' leadership.
And Derrick Rose got injured well after Tibbs. Derrick Rose got injured every year of his career. But go ahead.
When people come up under Tom Thibodeau's leadership, Julius Randle was the L.A. Lakers cast-off with no reputation. He came in, got the Spartan training. He's been an all-star ever since. So I don't want to hear about what Tibbs. He has people show up to work, and Mikal Bridges is the guy that will show up to work. That would be Devin Booker. He's 2-ball dominant. Donovan Mitchell, 2-ball dominant.
How about KD, man? How about KD? People trying to push KD here. What if KD goes to Matt Ishbia, says, I'm tired. I want to go. I want to leave again. I want to run. Maybe I'll face my demons and finish in New York.
TP, if he passes over OKC, that would be the logical place. Head home, help them to win a championship. They're not sold on Giddey. Go to OKC and be the piece that gets them over the top. But if that doesn't work, I'm all for Kevin Durant because he's another guy that shows up to work every single day. He's another guy, tremendous efficiency. And then they got a piece, they could keep him, and then you wouldn't necessarily have to give up OG or Randall. But if it comes down to it, then OG would have to go.
No, you're never giving up OG. You're giving up Randall in the Kevin Durant trade. You're not giving up OG. You're giving up Randall.
Either or. I'm good. Bring KD. He'll be there. I'm confident he's going to be on the court, and that's what we need in crunch time.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for taking the call. Love the show, CP.
Listen, I think from a basketball standpoint, I think KD's a perfect fit with Jalen Brunson. I think they'd be perfect. Now, you want to talk about, everything that happened, everything that we're spurned about? I absolutely agree with that. But if we're talking hoops, I think KD's the best fit here. I'm just going to keep it real. Keeping it real.
Am I not online enough to have heard La Cosa Nova before?
Yeah, how do we never heard it?
I've ever heard.
We never heard that one.
That's so good.
We never heard that. That's a great one, man.
I never heard that.
Yeah, that is a great one.
Oh my God, that's the first time I've heard it. It's perfect. Yeah,
man.
Wow, I gotta come in here more often.
Yeah, man, you got to come through, man. You got to come through with us, bro. This is a great place, a safe space, as you say. This is a great place, man. All right, man. Let's take a couple more on the Discord. Let's go to Triple M. Let's go. Unmute your mic.
Yo, what's going on, fellas? You hear me?
Loud and clear. How you feeling, bro?
Yeah, what's going on, CP? My brother Rob, love what you're doing. Even though the chat send you a whole bunch of tomatoes for that Tobias Harris, man. Don't ever do that again on KnicksFanTV, man. Please don't do that again. Anyway, fellas, man, on the topic of running it back or making a big trade, look, I really think Jalen Brunson is the number 1 guy here, and I really do think Julius Randle is that number 3 guy with OG right there protecting. So my question to you guys is, what does Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride, and Bogdanovich, that's about $40 million right there. What does that get you with all those picks we have? We've been saving and hoarding these picks. Do any of those protected picks have value? Does that get you a B-level player, C-level player, or whatever it is, man? Shout out to y'all, man, and I'll listen.
Does it get you Spider?
Do you even want Spider?
It's not a great fit. It's not a great fit.
What is our backcourt defense? If you have Spider on the floor, you're moving Josh Hart to the 3, and then you don't have Randall.
No, you keep... No, he said Bogdanovich, Mitch, and Deuce. He's not trading Randall.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that part.
Yeah.
But here we are again with another high usage guy that's going to be siphoning away from Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson has proved in this season alone that he's the alpha, and you build to complement him.
Yeah.
The way that his play makes everyone else better. You are now surrounding that man with everything he needs to maximize his potential.
Yeah.
I am convinced that he can be the best scorer on a championship team. You bring in Donovan Mitchell, who also, you could argue, qualifies for that category. And he has experience dating back to the bubble. Even before that, these 50-point games in the playoffs. I'm not doubting his talent. I'm just doubting the fit. And then are we slicing the ball in half? Are we going to end up looking like the Phoenix Suns, where everyone is standing around watching And1 mixtape happen? You know what the thing with And1 mixtape was, CP? When you watched it on ESPN2 at midnight on a Wednesday? It was a 30-minute show with 12 minutes of commercials. That means it was 18 minutes of footage. I went to an And1 mixtape live at Madison Square Garden in roughly 2003. The worst experience of my life, because it's 2 hours of guys trying to do moves to make it to television, and they always fail. All you see is the ones that actually work out. The one that works out of 20
is full of bloopers.
You watch the Phoenix Suns without a point guard out there, and it's like, give me the ball. Everyone else go stand over there. Well, do it to him. Do it to him. And then it's just a terrible ass possession. We are the furthest thing from that, and it's the last thing that I want to see a team with this type of chemistry pivot their business model to.
Hey, listen. Hey, Roberto in the chat says only CP wants Mitchell. Well, listen, I'm here to tell you there was a regime by the name of Leon Rose and Worldwide West who was ready to pull the trigger on that guy just about 2 years ago. So, you know, I'm just saying.
Things have changed. Things have changed with the evolution of Jalen Brunson. It was a blessing in disguise.
Sure.
That Quentin Grimes held up that trade, I think, because it allowed us to go out and, at the time, overpay for Jalen Brunson, myself included. Everyone thought it was an overpay. And you know what? It's just a bet that worked out quite well. So he's a New York guy. He has connections through the Mets, and he knows everyone in the organization. From a culture standpoint, it would be fine. But until they insert a second ball into the NBA, I'm just not there.
Fair enough, man. All right, back to the phones we go. Let's go to 845. What's your name? Where you calling in from? Oh.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Good, man. Hang on. I gotta keep your call on hold because your connection was kind of choppy. 901. What's your name? Where are you calling in from? 901.
Hello.
Yes. Hello. How are you?
I'm all right, man.
Okay.
Hey, I'm gonna say this right here. We did hit a good year, but I think Tia ran them guys down too quick. I know y'all love Tia.
Okay.
But Tia ran the guys down too much.
How? Yeah.
Yeah, it was tied. I didn't think whatchamacallit been played last night.
Oh.
That's when we lost that game. Y'all won't admit that.
What?
If OG had stayed on the bench and let them other guys play, we would have won that game.
Who's the other guy? Who's the other guy to play?
The 8th player used to come in. He came in too late.
Are you talking?
You got to have a starter, who uncommon, been with you all the time. OG, he helped us all year round. That's true. But, man, he wasn't playing during the playoff like we won the last game because he was hurt. Leave him on the bench. Hey, I can tell about how both of y'all looking. One sad and looking at the mic, one holding side his face. So let me
because we don't know what you're talking about. Are you going to tell me that OG Anunoby's 5 minutes cost the Knicks the game? Indiana shot 67% from the field. I mean, call back any time, but my man says OG Anunoby's 5 minutes in which he did score 5 points in a miracle and got the Garden crowd hyped. He was perfect from the field, got the Garden crowd hyped, and then sat down. He was speed walking out there. 5 minutes. They cut the lead to 6 in the third quarter. They could have won the game. He was nowhere in the game. They got ran out the court.
Had the audacity of him to say that I could see you guys on camera looking into space, looking at the microphone. I thought I was safe that whole time.
No.
And he was just calling in.
He called us red-handed.
I thought I could just go over here and just go off the screen a little bit.
He called us red-handed.
Deal with this one.
I mean, come on, people. Now it's Thibs' fault because he played OG, because the guy wanted to play, be there for his team. Now it's Thibs' fault for playing guys that shouldn't have been playing. 5 minutes. All 5 minutes of OG Anunoby sent the Knicks into a Game 7 spiral. Okay.
Dude, this is starting to sound like one of my shows now.
Yeah, yeah.
A call like that.
Oh, it gets better.
Now you're dipping in toes into late night with Wob.
It gets better as the show progresses, man. It gets better. It gets richer, man. 347, what's your name? Where you calling it from? 347.
CP.
Yes, sir.
CP Rob.
Yes.
How are you, brothers?
Good, man. How you doing, man?
Listen, man. Listen. Great show, man. Great season. I thank you for what you've been doing for the Knicks fans like me. I've been a Knicks fan for 40 years, man. So
appreciate it, man.
I've seen it all, man. As far as running it back or going to get Mikal Bridges, I would love to get Mikal Bridges, but that's kind of far-fetched. In my opinion, we run it back, and we use those 2 draft picks, 24 and 25, man, and we get somebody to back up OG and get somebody to back up my man Brunson.
Okay.
I mean, I like the kid Ryan Dunn from Virginia.
Okay.
And I like the kid Mark Sears from Alabama. And as far as Thibs running people into the grounds, man, listen, he played who he had. You know what I'm saying? You can't get mad at him for playing who he had. The only thing that I have a problem with is if Burks and Achua were able to play, you know what I'm saying, he should have played them. He should have used them in a rotation. You could go from 7 to 9, especially when you're playing against the Pacers. That's all I got to say, man. You have a good night.
Appreciate the call. And go ahead, Rob. You had something to say? Go ahead.
Well, we don't necessarily need him, but I don't hate the Sears suggestion because, first of all, speaking of being a Tar Heel, I went to watch the game between Alabama and North Carolina at Staples Center, and I watched Sears light us on fire. Second of all, this guy idolizes Jalen Brunson in the way that he's trying to make the league the exact way Jalen Brunson did. He's going step for step. He talks about it publicly in interviews. And I don't know if Jalen Brunson is even interested or open to mentoring a kid. But if you're talking about things like culture and fit and Thibs guys, that dude hits shots where he's doing this after it too.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do these go in? And it's in big sample size too. And he's undersized, of course. And maybe he falls deep down there and you can put him on a summer league roster and say, oh, maybe his game does translate to the NBA level, but he sure has a lot of qualities that have piqued my interest. I just don't know. Unless we're starting the farm system of the next Deuce McBride, and he's going to need a couple of years to get into the system, possible 2-way deal if he's a 2nd-round pick. I'm not totally against that. I just don't know if it solves our issues tomorrow.
Good points. And we got a lot of draft talk coming up next month. We'll bring on our draft regulars, our scouts. We'll get Wasserman in here. We'll get my guy Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Big Board. And we're going to scout this thing, man. We got 2 picks potentially. I think the Knicks could use a upperclassman wing depth. I do think they could use a backup point guard. That maybe will come in free agency. Maybe it's a vet minimum contract or a mid-level. We'll see what happens there, man. But the caller did mention one thing, and this is a good segue as I get to my worst takes segment. He mentioned my guy, Alec Burks. Man. Since the trade, Rob, I took a lot of heat. I predicted that the trade was going to go down. I thought that this was the move that was going to help this Knick bench, and they brought him in. I took my victory lap, but I took a lot of bullets for AB, man, because he wasn't performing in the regular season. But wouldn't you know, in Game 7, who was the Garden crowd chanting for? Here's a soundbite right now. Alec Burks, and that was his little daughter screaming there, so pardon the volume there. But the Garden crowd was screaming for Alec Burks. We had the last laugh at the end of the day, man. We had the last laugh, bro.
Is the clip still not playing, is it? Okay.
Yes, no.
I haven't forgotten that Alec Burks was arguably the best player on the floor in a playoff series for the New York Knicks all of 3 years ago. It was him and Derrick Rose creating offense.
Yeah.
That was it.
Hey, he bounced back. And my first worst take candidate here, Rob, was is going to go to none other than Zach Lowe. Because Zach Lowe on the Low Post podcast today, according to our guy, Rit Holtzman, shout out to Benji of Knicks Film School, shout out to my guys. He says, listening to Lowe and Pelton discuss how Thibs should have never, they said Thibs should have and never trusted Burks this year. That's what Zach Lowe said. He never trusted Burks this year, and he should have. I think that's a worst take candidate, bro. Because he gave Burks everything to succeed here. He stunk it up when he got here at the trade deadline.
Yeah, wait. So the take is that the Knicks didn't give him a long enough leash to figure it out or something?
I'm pretty sure that's pretty much what Lowe's referring to there.
Okay. Well, he most certainly got opportunity after the trade, and him and Bogdanovich, I'm watching every single one of those games thinking like, this is going to be our second unit in the playoffs. When those rotations get shorted down to 7-8 guys, it's going to be Deuce McBride, it's going to be Bogdanovich, and it's going to be Burks.
Yeah.
It's going to be those three, with the exception of like Hartenstein, who you think is going to replace Mitchell Robinson and do their revolving door thing. So it's going to be those three that you choose from for offense at the end of the first quarter, the beginning of the second, the end of the third quarter, the beginning of the fourth. There's going to be roughly 5 to 9 total minutes in a big playoff game where you're going to be reliant on those two to go get you some buckets.
Yeah.
And 5 to 9 minutes doesn't sound like a lot until the big spotlight comes on top of them and you recognize that one player that just can't be out there. We've seen that a couple of times with some of these teams, some of those Cavs teams with like Tristan Thompson, or like, get this dude off the floor. Like every second he's out there, we're getting killed. I was hoping that the Knicks, that had built their bench mob for all of these years and would always win bench minutes, even before the trade, with the likes of the Obi Toppins and the Emmanuel Quickleys. We knew that no matter what the deficit was, CP, that the Knicks were going to come back and or expand the lead in that time frame. And I'm watching these games and I'm like, it's not happening. We're not only not net zero, we're not winning, we're losing points.
Yeah, we're getting killed.
It's been a long time since I felt like our bench was a liability. And maybe the sample size wasn't big enough, and maybe they, I don't know, didn't give them enough time. But to me, it felt like it was an experiment which needed to end, and or you use the end of the season to like load manage one of the guys, run Alec Burks out there like he did Deuce McBride for 40 minutes, and use that as his one chance to prove if he can be a part of this rotation or not. And it took all the way to the point of OG pulling up lame, and then who else dropped in that game where I'm sitting here saying, we have to find out if Alec Burks can play right now. I think it was game 3 or something. Yes. It's a blowout. Put Alec Burks in there to see if he's still got it. And he did. Yeah. And then he ended up thriving. So maybe it was a bad take by you in the short run, but every take can be seen as bad right off the bat. The same way the Rudy Gobert trade was the worst trade in NBA history. And now it may go down as one of the most important. Because you just beat you.
True.
So, all right. Yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah, I thought I didn't get him saying that, Thibs should have trusted Burks, because I thought he did. As soon as he got here, he got his minutes. He was brutal. The bench was depleted. They were getting outscored. And at the same time, McBride was on a rocket. He was on the rise. He was earning minutes by the day, and he was coming through with efficient offense. He was mixing it up in the mid-range. He was facilitating well. McBride played very well since that trade had gone down. Then you lose guys. He went back to Burks in the nick of time when he needed him, and Burks delivered. He delivered.
So just a quick side note from earlier this season, because the regular season feels like an eternity ago. Yeah. But the Deuce McBride extension happened before the trade.
Before the trade.
So the Knicks knew that they were trading Emmanuel Quickly for OG Anunoby. Otherwise,
pretty much,
Deuce McBride, who was not in the rotation whatsoever, gets a 3-year deal. Granted, it's for a small amount of money, so it's not going to kill you either way.
Yeah.
And maybe they saw something in practice that we don't have access to, and this guy is like killing it behind the scenes, and he's earned a contract at the very least to be a participant as a part of like the practice squad. But did they know at the time that deal was going to happen? Because we signed Deuce, we know Emmanuel's on his way out, and OG's coming in. It's funny how that all just
it seems like, I'm looking at the dates now, just going back in time. It seems like it was the day before the trade. They signed McBride on December 30th, and then they pulled the trigger on the deal on New Year's Eve.
So the guy, once again, the guy does not play hardly at all for the first half of the year. He gets an extension out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then the trade happens. So what that tells me is we can sit here as fans because we can only consume what we have access to, but there is so much going on behind the scenes and closed doors, both in the locker room and in the practice facility, that we're just not privy to. And you know what? Maybe they should let us in so that we can critique them even more. How dare they? But there are some trade secrets that are going on behind the scenes that were very clearly in the works without our knowledge. But I found that when it all happened in a row, I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what they're doing. And like now it makes sense. But sometimes you just have to wait a little bit in this reactionary world.
Our chief moderating officer, TM, in the chat says, come on, Rob, you know this. He's saying you're capping. You're CAA through and through. You should have known about these trades. You probably did know about the trade before everybody else. He says
I'm trying to think as a CAA client, have I ever known about something before it happened? Maybe like once or twice.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even, I don't think it was even Knicks related. It was other clients.
Okay.
And it was just because I knew those players on a personal level of some kind, and I was in the same room at the right time. Okay. It wasn't like people are texting me like I'm Woj or Shams. Like, guess you got to get this news out. Like, no one's going out of their way to tell me shit. I got to ask.
All right. Here's another one. I want us to react to. And it's from, he's my guy. I don't want to admit it as much because I do like him. I do respect him. It is Evan Roberts of WFAN, man. Here's what he had to say about Game 7 and the Knicks fans saluting their team. Here's what this fraud had to say. Here's Evan Roberts.
What I do not understand from a lot of Knicks fans today is how you're okay. I don't understand that. I don't understand the thank yous. I don't understand the tears. I don't understand the chants. I don't understand these standing ovations that were given out yesterday. And maybe that says more about me, that I am broken as a sports fan. But when my team loses, it doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter why. When they lose and the season ends, I do not sit there and act like, well, we accomplished a lot and that was a lot of fun. I don't understand that. The facts are the New York Knicks got eliminated in the second round of the postseason. The same place they got eliminated 1 year ago. Facts. The facts are they had a lead in Game 3 with a 2-0 series lead, and they blew it. Facts. The facts are they got blown out in a Game 7 at home. Facts. And here are the other facts. Yes, the Knicks were ravaged by injuries. I don't deny that. That doesn't make me feel better. It never did, and it never will. So what I don't understand about my fellow New Yorkers is what happened to you. Why are we celebrating? Why are we happy? Why are we smiling? Why are we saying thank you? Do I have to be the voice of reason? I'd be pissed. No. I'd be angry, and I'd be devastated that my season ended.
What do you say about that?
So, well, I was about to ask, is this guy from New York? Because I don't know.
So Evan Roberts, he's the host of the Evan and Tiki show on WFAN. On Afternoon.
Well, that makes more sense because I was going to say this sounds like a Philadelphia.
Listen to how much of a fraud he is. He's a Nets fan. He's a New Jersey Nets fan with Knicks season tickets. He's a New Jersey Nets fan with Knicks season tickets. He's as big as a fraud as they come. Well, what do you think, man?
Well, I think that he's doing radio and he's getting engagement because you just played it on your show, and you wouldn't have played his segment if it was a very level-headed take. It wouldn't have made this segment. I mean, there is a business in coming out with, he may honestly believe that without the agenda, and just an anti-Knicks stance in New York will get you a lot of views. It may not be the quality of views that are positive, but it gets you views. And if you're in the business of driving, I mean, maybe I live in my own little bubble by myself. Yeah. And I try and avoid all of these hot takes that are not within.
Because you know how the game goes. You know how the game goes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I know too much about the business. So when I hear something like that, it's clearly designed to solicit a reaction from fans. And in 2024, the outrage reaction drives a lot more dollars than the positive one because you get more numbers. And that's just the way that the business works.
Yeah.
So I don't know who this person is, so he may earnestly just despise the Knicks and or believe that. So I'll give him a little bit of credit in that regard. But I would not. Every Knicks fan, we talked about it at the top of the show, sees the franchise through a different lens. We appreciate this team because of how it reminds us of the 90s. The younger fans love this team because it is as far as the Knicks have gone in their lifetimes. You also see that there is a light at the end of the Lincoln Tunnel in terms of future and potential. And if you were alive for those 2000s, knowing how this team loved to liquidate all of its assets for a win now type culture of those mercenaries at the end of their career, knowing that there is not a chance in hell this team sees a conference finals. Like, there is never a winning long-term strategy there.
Yeah.
So we're only used to, for the most part, other than those 90s, we'll treat that as an outlier. For the last 20 years, not 30 years, Knicks fans have become so accustomed to being either made fun of or doing things the incorrect way that all it takes is just the bare minimum for our spirits to be high. So I'm not going to apologize for that because we sure as hell have put in the time and effort in getting to this point.
You said it all right there, bro. You said it all right there. I mean, look, the Knicks fan has gone through so much that, yes, we're going to applaud our guys. The Knicks fan is the smartest fan in the game. They seen the blood, sweat, and tears. They seen the blood and guts that these guys left out there on the court. They seen it. They've seen the battles against Philadelphia. They understood that with every injury, the margin of error became less and less. And I said this yesterday, there's not a team in the NBA that would have overcome the amount that the Knicks did and gotten to where they got. There's not one team in the NBA that would have done that. You look at every single NBA team and you remove 3-4 starters from their team, they're not getting as far as the Knicks. I can promise you that. So with all that said and done, yes, it was disappointing that they couldn't get to the Eastern Conference Finals, which was the goal. Yes, it was disappointing that they were up 2-0 and they lost in Game 7. It was definitely disappointing watching that in Game 7 in horror as the Pacers were bombing away. But you just knew at the end of the day, this team gave it everything that they had. And as you said, Rob, the books are clean. They got assets galore. You have a superstar emerge on the main stage. You have an all-star in the waiting. We'll see what happens with Randle, as we talked about on this show. They're in a great spot. This franchise, I said it when I ethered Draymond Green because he ran and he was on the same LOL Knicks train. Team has been in the best shape that it's been in 25 years, easily.
And just a quick side note to wrap up this thought. Okay, let's say the Knicks win Game 7 somehow against the Pacers. Alec Burks carries them to a unprecedented, historic comeback until later that night when the Timberwolves set the record for the biggest halftime deficit overcome. But they would have held the record for 6 hours, and they win. They go to the conference finals without Jalen Brunson, who has a broken hand. And we spend the next week losing by 30 points every single night to a 60-plus win Boston Celtics team. And then what? You have the same amount of wins. We're not winning a single game without Jalen.
They were going to get swept, man. They were going to get swept by the Celtics, bro.
So what was even left at that point? That was realistic.
Yeah. Circumstances change, man. Circumstances change. But as you said, Roberts and all these guys, there's a clear agenda when it comes to the orange and blue. But the Knicks fans see right through it. They see right through it. Draymond and all these guys. Get these guys out of here, man. Shout out to Rob Perez for tapping in with me all the way from the West Coast, man. He's got that Cali glow, man. He came onto the show fresh off the beach. Where were you at? Huntington Beach? Venice Beach? What beach were you at?
I'm on the west side. I can't be giving out.
Nah, I got you. We ain't doxing over here. I got you. You at the beach and there were waves rolling. That's all we need to know. That's all we need to know, man. You are on doing NBA postgame for the playoffs on Sirius XM NBA Radio. Tell the fans a bit about it, where they can find you, and what's going on.
Yeah, Sirius XM NBA channel postgame show. Most nights following the games, we run late. You know this, CP, but when those West Coast games end, They're usually 1 a.m. Eastern time, and the show runs until 3 a.m. But I do enjoy that particular format of content because it's still the emotion of the moment.
True.
And I mean, you know this from doing post game. It's different seconds after the final buzzer than opposed to the following morning. Because you wake up, you have some clarity, and I kind of like not being a prisoner of the moment, but I like overreacting with my tone of voice and things like that. And it's the perfect atmosphere and platform for what I think I do best, and maybe some other people would agree with me. So once again, SiriusXM post-game show. Throughout the playoffs, we talk about the NBA nationally. I do my part to be an objective Knicks fan. I haven't gone on one of my diatribes yet because it's a national platform.
You get that on Twitter. You get that on Twitter.
Yeah. Of course, I can put that on somewhere else. But solo radio is hard, and we were just talking about this before your show started. But doing a show like this is so easy because you can make conversation, and when you're on the air for 2 hours. You hear that? 2 seconds right there? That's dead air. You can't just have to keep talking and talking and talking.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
So it's good, though. It's fun.
Well, you couldn't have said it better, man. It is very difficult, and but it's interesting just getting used to or getting used to different styles of pace, different settings, different types of content. So it's all interesting in that regard, man. But you're great at what you do. We appreciate you for the time, and we'll be tapping in tomorrow after the Eastern Conference Finals matchup between the Pacers and the Celtics. Once again, you can catch Rob on SiriusXM Channel 86 NBA Radio, man. Make sure that you guys lock into that. Shout out to Nick Synergy on the chat for being here. Let me read some of the super chats before we wrap. Shout out to, let's see, Julius Bloom. $10 super chat says, obviously injuries hindered us from the promised land, but how can we negate those injuries under a demanding coach and his short rotations through 82 games and a playoff run? Can we survive? Shout out to Darius Thomas. $10 super chat says, did Rob forget this team lost 2 games in January with Randle? Okay. I got Jay. I got Steven Santiago.
That's it? They only lost 2 games in the whole month? That sounds pretty good to me.
They were pretty damn good. Shout out to Darius Thomas. $5 super chat says, all of the stars are over 35 and were sent home early. They don't want to play for Thibs. Okay. Shout out to Show Kwan. D. Olive, $10 super chat says, rather have the crumble cookie than Tobias Harris. He'd rather have the Philadelphia crumble cookie. So there it is. Shout out to D. Olive, who joined the franchise channel members. Show Kwan says, trade for Caruso and sign Tyus Jones and Marcus Morris Sr. Run it back with that squad. Okay. That'll be interesting, man. You're a Caruso guy, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
You name a more perfect potential Knick than Alec Caruso?
Facts. I would love to see Caruso here. Jake 2K26, salute to you, franchise channel member, says, what about Julius and Mitch and 5 firsts for Giannis? Julius, Mitch, and 5 firsts for Giannis.
What is happening?
He says, would you do Julius, Mitch, and 5 first-round picks for Giannis?
I mean, I have to answer this question because it's a super chat. Okay. Yeah, obviously, it's Giannis.
All right, there we go.
Why? I mean, of course, but why would they ever do that?
I don't see it. Eb Eckstein, $20 super chat says, we got our superstar. It's like a football team that got their superstar. Everything has house money after the OG injury. I was about to call into WFAN for the first time. Yeah, next time you see Roberts, tell him he's a fraud. Della Music 50, $10 super chat says, CP1, okay. Evan, who and what are you mad at? Number 2, don't say you and fan and you ain't. We don't respect that. You know New York fans aren't bandwagon fans. Yeah, man. Roberts is a fraud. But anyway, remember that this show is available in audio podcast format. No reason to miss it. If you did, salute to the replay gang. Just go ahead and rewind, man. And salute to our sponsors of the night at Mando. Go to Mando, shopmando.com. Use our code KFTV for $5 off the starter pack. And we'll see you guys, man. CP the franchise, Rob Perez. Great show. We out of here, man. Peace.